Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our regular board meeting, July 10th. Chairman Curry had a previous engagement and could not be with us this evening. He asked me to pinch hit for him. Can you take the roll call, please?
Acting Chairman McNamara.
Present.
Mr. Zaberto. Mr. Prince.
Here.
Mr. Goldenberg.
Present.
Ms. Garbino.
Here.
And Ms. Gannon.
Here.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is our meeting, minutes of the meeting of April 10th, copies of which have all been distributed to the membership. Any comments, any concerns, any corrections?
No.
If not, can I get a motion for approval?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I made the motion.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, next regular item is time extension. Granite Point, this is a re-grant, the 8th re-grant for a 90-day extension in Granite Point subdivision for subdivision approval, wetland, steep slope, tree preservation, storm management, and erosion and sediment control permits as per Resolution 17-10 from August 1st of this year to and including October 29th of this year, pursuant to Town Law 276. Any concerns, any questions?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to grant the extension?
Motion to grant the extension.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, the next item is a regular public hearing for Routes 63 Routes 6 to be called the Coral Seafoods Restaurant. Applications for an amended site plan, approval of site modifications, existing grill restaurant. The property is located at 63 Route 6 and is in NS Neighborhood Shopping District. First item, notices. I did drive by this morning and saw the posted sign. I know it was there this morning. I cannot attest how long it was there, but it was there. Notices were filed
The
and sent.
public notice was in the Somers Record on Thursday, June 27th. The sign was placed up on June 30th, and the
30th.
mailings went out also on June 27th.
Okay. Good evening. Why, give us an overview for the record.
Yeah, so again, my name is Kevin DeSharnis. I'm representing the owner. We seek the planning board approval for the additional parking and the side terrace and modification to the front walkway. And we've been in front of you, I guess, twice before. I think we've been through the engineering process, and I believe Woodard and Cran told me that they were satisfied with everything at this point and they could handle anything else administratively. And so we're here for the public hearing.
Your comments, concerns?
Yeah, I'm fine with things. There are a list of items that Joe's office will want changed. They've had discussions with the applicant, but they were ready to move forward with this, and we'll get those things changed
Prior to any resolution,
prior to any resolution, so.
okay? Any legal issues? None. Comments?
Yeah, I would just, as a courtesy, like to bring up a request made by the Open Space Committee. They were asking for a pervious blacktop surface.
Kevin?
Impervious?
No, to pave the parking lot with a pervious blacktop surface.
What is a pervious?
That's so the water drains through.
That's the first I'm hearing of it, but that's something that we could possibly accommodate. I think it's, that's something I'll have to also discuss with the engineers. because
Yes,
we
discuss it.
designed a treatment system for, that parking space,
No, I understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So it almost defeats the purpose if you put in pervious,
It defeats the purpose?
Yes, well, of
That's
having
okay.
You flood it.
of having the collection system and treating all that water, if you're letting it spill through the parking, it doesn't, yeah.
I'm not the one
No,
advocating.
no, I totally understand,
Yeah.
and we're happy.
I'm learning something.
Yes.
What you're explaining is an impervious surface means the water's running off and you're accounting for that
Yes.
runoff and you
We're
are doing
collecting it and
something with
treating
it.
right now.
If you switch to what they're requesting, that messes up what you've designed?
I think impervious blacktop is what they put on the top coat of highways so that the water goes down and out.
Well, here's the
So
engineer,
this-
so.
No,
Well, I want
I
to,
gotta-
that's
I'm
not,
learning something.
Mr. Carroll,
No.
illuminate.
no.
John Correll. I mean, a pervious pavement allows the water to infiltrate down through the pavement. And that's usually used in an area where you can't collect it and treat it in infiltrators. And we did field work out there, and we can infiltrate the storm water in the backyard. And it's really, it would take away all the water before it ever got to the infiltrators.
no,
Well-
I understand, I'm learning
Okay.
something.
Nancy, there's also something that the pervious paving is somewhat of a misnomer, because the problem with a pervious surface is that you need to make sure that it's maintained
Yes,
and cleaned, okay?
because it gets clogged.
Because it gets clogged very fast. So to be
Okay.
perfectly honest, I think it's, what they're doing is a better way to deal with this, because they're dealing with the runoff, which they will catch and they will deal with. If they eliminated that the expense, if they put the expense into the paving, because pervious paving is a lot more expensive than regular paving, because you've got to go down, I believe it's almost a couple of feet, because you have to have a surface, absorbent surface underneath the 4 or 6 inches of paving, and you might want to eliminate your drainage, and I think we'll come out in the long end the wrong way. So
Okay.
if they're successfully dealing, if the town thinks they're successfully dealing with collecting the water, I think it's a much better way to go.
Fine, fine. And we have minutes, and this committee will get this explanation in our minutes. That's great. There's a second item?
And may I say, Nancy, I'll also make sure in a resolution that it gets noted that the request of the pervious surface was considered by the planning board, because that's the thing that we often hear from the Open Space Committee, that this
That's-
board may or may not
That's why I brought it up.
consider
As a courtesy to them.
their
Right.
recommendations.
The second item they brought up was, let me get this right. We would like to request that the curbing be Cape Cod style to accommodate amphibians.
What?
Accommodate what? Amphibians?
What?
Amphibians,
The curbing?
right, the curbing.
I'm not sure what they mean.
But if
Well,
you- if
what
you
kind of
look-
curbing are you putting in? Is it sharp?
I mean, it's rounded, it's in the.
Oh, it's
drawings.
rounded?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all right.
It'll be asphalt curbing,
Yeah.
and maybe they think that they should have spaces in the curbing to allow turtles to go through. I don't know, but
no,
it
it's-
would just allow stormwater to go through,
Well,
so.
that's just it. It defeats collecting the stormwater if we put breaks in the
Yeah.
curbing, so.
It defeats the purpose of the
Maybe,
design.
maybe they think it's a seafood restaurant and there's going to be amphibians being served.
Get those crabs.
Right, keep them in, not let them escape. That's,
Okay.
I think it's just safe to say we didn't fully understand their request, but we considered it.
what is it, does anybody know what Cape Cod
Yeah,
curbing
it's
is?
a rounded curb.
It's a rounded
It's
curb.
rounded as
It's
opposed
so the
to-
amphibians can crawl over instead of being washed away.
I mean, we don't have sharp curves, though.
Yeah,
Okay, so they're rounded, they should be, the amphibian should be able to crawl over, okay. It says curb, Cape Cod style, so
I'll look that up later, but
it's rounded, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I think it's, open it up for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? No one wishes to speak? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, next step is resolution?
No. Well, you're going to review the EAF,
Sorry, you're right.
right?
Yeah, EAF Part 2,
Right.
and make a secret determination.
And essentially, what you're looking for is the negative declaration, which identifies those areas in the EAF Part 2 that had potential for impacts. And those were the impact on land and the impact on historic and archaeological resources. And the impact on land was based on the fact that this area is in a New York State designated Main Street area within the New York City watershed boundary, and it requires a New York City DEP approval of a SWIP, which is what is ongoing here. As part of that, and the provision of the SWIP will provide mitigation, so there's no impact as a result of provision of that. And the environmental mapper program had identified the potential in this area for archaeological resources. And there was a just-in-time response from SHPO indicating that there are no archaeological resources of concern or historical resources of concern. So that particular item is not something that will create, there'll be no negative impact based on those issues. So the board is in a position to issue a negative declaration on
And
this.
those,
under
most of
secret.
the items on there were no.
Right, right. So that you need to take a vote to pass a negative declaration under secret.
Okay? Is there a motion for that? I'll make the motion to, motion is to,
Motion is to,
Negative
to,
calculation.
to make a negative
Negative
declaration
declaration.
under secret.
under secret. Sorry, I'm out of practice. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, so that takes care of the neg deck. Now we're up to the resolution.
Right, and
As-
because there are still items that the applicant and Joe's office are working out, we're gonna let them work it out, and your choice is to direct me to prepare it for chairman's signature, or have them come back at the next meeting for approval of the resolution.
I would move, if it's okay with you, that if they work it out with Joe within the next 2 weeks, all those items, then go ahead and prepare the resolution. If they have failed to work out those items, bring it back next month and we'll discuss it.
I talked to Joe's office a few days ago, we worked through all of it, so I don't see why that's an issue.
You don't see that it's a
I
problem?
think we could have it done in the next 2 days.
Yeah, okay. Giving you 2 weeks to cross all the i's and dot all the t's. And if that's okay with you?
That's fine with me.
Okay. That's my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Second.
Okay. See you next month.
So do we have to come back for?
No, we won't see you
No.
next month. You're done.
You-
Thank you.
Provided you do things within 2 weeks. Thank you.
Okay. Steve Wilkinson, Brenda Jones, wetland permit, review.
Evening, I have this
Hello
one. Also, John Carell. Mr. Wilkinson is the owner of a property at 16 Anorak Drive. It's on Plum Brook Lake. He is proposing to put an addition on his house, which is shown on the plan. There's a porch, there's a You know, downstairs, there's an office in the back. I believe it's over here.
Could you tilt it around just a little bit? Just tilt, just a little bit of that tilt would help. That's great, thanks. Well, we want the camera still to see
Why
it.
don't we have a plan
So-
of this? Why don't, what?
We did, I got mine on,
He has an office
I
addition
got mine
here.
on CD.
Another small addition over an existing patio, a little bump out here. You can increase the garage and put in a covered porch. Total disturbance for this project is about 4,300 square feet. I talked to Steve this afternoon about mitigation, and he was talking about, because we're inside the 100-foot wetland setback. This
I'm
is a
sorry, you're
100-foot
inside the what?
100-foot setback
Okay.
from the lake. So part of the existing house is within that area. Most of the front of the house is not. There's also a floodplain, and the red line is the X zone, which is very little chance of flooding. They used to have a 100-year floodplain bylaw. They don't seem to have it anymore, so they identify it as not subject to flooding. Maybe subject to flooding is between the red and the blue, and the floodway is the blue. So all of this construction is outside of that
Flooding.
area that's subject to flooding. Now, also, he proposes to raise the roof of the house, and that roof would be on, or that reconstruction of the second floor would be in this footprint. So we're not changing the footprint. We come here to get approval to modify this house within that footprint, but we also have to make modifications to the septic system because he's increasing the number of bedrooms.
Right.
Now, we've gone out there, we've done
Wow.
testing with the health department, and we have a water problem in this area where the existing septic is.
For expansion, existing septic tanks.
Yes, the existing septic works fine, and actually half the existing septic is not even being used. You know, with the health department, when you go out and look at this, they look at 6 boxes, and 3 of the boxes, you can see they took sewage. The other 3 boxes were dry as a bone for 50 years.
And this is not the expansion area either.
No, now we have to, since we're increasing the number of bedrooms, we have to build a code compliant system based on today's standards. We encountered some strange groundwater conditions here, so we're proposing a curtain drain along the driveway and across the front yard to drop the groundwater table. But we have to go all the way down to the lake with the discharge of the curtain drain. So this curtain drain pipe for about 100 feet is going to be within the 100-foot wetland setback. Not wetland, the lake setback. So that's what we're here for. It's a kind of it's a small, very small area of disturbance around the house. It's mainly squaring the house off.
Okay, but the only water being piped around the septic and down into the lake is groundwater. It's not septic and it's not,
No, correct.
it's not
The septic
gutters or anything else.
No, no. Steve talked about infiltration of some of the roof water as mitigation for the activities within the 100-foot setback, and he said we talked about it with Joe. Joe Barbagallo. A lot of his comments were about, or general comments or critical comments on the design of the stormwater system, which we would rather not do that, but the board requires mitigation, and that's
Well, if the health department is going to require a lower groundwater table, you're going to have to do it, and my concern is contaminants in the lake.
Well, it's good, you're pumping clean ground, not pumping, but.
That was my
clean
question.
groundwater.
It is just
Yes,
clean.
just groundwater.
That was my question.
Question regarding the septic. Since you said they're only using half of the existing septic, that the existing septic is not adequate for the new,
It's not up to code.
it's not up to code,
Not up to code.
Right.
even though they don't use it?
It-
Yeah, we're gonna add
Unfortunately,
bedrooms.
if you make a change now, you gotta bring it up to code.
Okay, so you're increasing the septic.
Right.
We have
meet
to-
the code today versus the code 50 years ago, plus there's new better.
And how are you dealing with the runoff from the roof and the leaders coming down?
It's existing now, and it sheet flows onto the ground, and it's infiltrated into the ground, or in a big storm, it would run across the backyard in the grassed area and then get into the lake. We've been doing that for 50 years.
But you're changing the roof.
Well, we're increasing it by maybe 500 square feet, because we're just putting in, I mean, you can see the red, the colored areas, that's the increase in the impervious of the roof. But if the board wants mitigation, then we will put in infiltrators in the rear yard or someplace.
We might have to put dry wells somewhere, if
Yeah,
you could,
drywells and infiltrators, yes.
in the backyard.
Yeah.
I'll let the engineers figure that one out.
Yeah, I think,
And we'd like to schedule a public hearing if possible for the next meeting, so that,
And our engineer will be here?
I think we don't
Yeah,
need.
I mean, the question is whether the board feels that we're ready to schedule the public hearing, or whether or not they have to come back with the, solutions to all of this, and then at the next meeting, schedule the public hearing. So it's whether you're scheduling the public hearing in advance of getting answers for how they're going to deal with all of this. Steve has given some suggestions. Joe Barbagallo's office has done a preliminary review, but they haven't all seen this. This was just sort of a sketch that everybody looked at.
I think
So-
we need a more thorough discussion
Yes.
and get close to what the answers are. And the
Yeah.
public has to be able to consider that in order to have a public hearing. So I
Yeah,
think
and I think
it's,
We don't have, you
think-
can't have a
Yeah.
public hearing until you have all the facts.
no.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm stating
No,
it the
no.
way I'm stating it.
And I think the board may want to do a site walk on this before the public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think at the next meeting, if they have brought in, different drawings, if you have worked out your solutions between Steve and Joe's office, at the next meeting, once you come in with all of that, and maybe if you want, you can set up a site walk between now and the next meeting.
Right.
Am I assuming that we're going to see some floor plans or something? I mean, unless I'm the only one that doesn't have this is a little difficult to make a judgment
Yes,
call
I
on.
can't make a judgment.
We have,
You have them.
we have floor plans.
and just timing wise, I mean, we need to put in the curtain drain to design the septic, to get the septic approval. So every month we get pushed back.
Understood.
I mean, most of Joe's comments are related to the stormwater system, and he didn't indicate that stormwater mitigation was required. Steve told me yesterday, and he thought that the board would want to see some mitigation of this. So, I mean, we would like to continue the sheet flow off the roof the way it is now. It's not causing any problems. There's no erosion, no rilling in the rear yard.
Which is why I said I'd let the engineers figure that one out. If the increase in roof surface was going to adversely impact the sheet flow, then they might suggest dry wells or some other mitigating measures.
Okay, well, all
But
right.
let Joe figure that one out and advise us,
Yeah.
and then we can vote on
The
it.
sidewalk, because maybe that's the best way of.
Yeah, I think what the board is asking also is for a copy of the plan sketched out and maybe some markings where we're going to be walking, where the septic is, where the building's going to be and all that.
Some of that's on there.
We can see, we want to stay in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, well, it's got to be coordinated with we need the engineer, we
We need
need
the
the town engineer there, so we can discuss it and look at it.
When is he back from vacation?
I know he's at this week and next week, but
Okay, so the
uh,
third Saturday from now? What's that?
uh,
I haven't got a calendar.
That's the 27th?
That's started, yeah, started the 27th.
27?
If Joe's not available, we can try to get somebody else from
Yeah.
his
From
office.
the office,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So that would be July 27th?
7/27, yes.
Yeah.
July 27. Now, where is this again?
The end of Anorak, up the street from Froggy's Deli.
Up from Froggy's
Up
Deli.
from Froggy's Deli.
Are
Okay,
you on the right or the left? Left.
The west side,
Yeah.
west side of.
Just behind Froggy's Deli,
Route
and on the
100.
other side.
okay.
It's
Past
the
that
south
one
side.
from Kennedy High School to Brick Hill, it's on the other side of the lake.
It's also across from Lawton.
Should we tentatively set it for 9 a.m. on the 27th?
Yes,
Subject to Joe's
or one of his engineers.
confirmation? Followed by a continuation and a finalization of all this at our next meeting.
We were allowed to appear at this.
Hmm?
The sidewalk is
Yes.
all right for everybody at the same
Yeah,
time?
because we're announcing
Yes.
now, we're doing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, the quorum rules don't.
Oh, okay, good.
We're not making any decisions in the field, we're just observing.
Oh, okay, fine.
And when would the next meeting be?
Next meeting is August, and at that meeting, we would set the public hearing, and the public hearing would be for September.
What's August what?
Is there any way to get approval with the engineers and still have the plans distributed to the public and have the meeting the same month?
That's, without Joe here, I can't comment. I'd like to help the guy.
Yeah,
I'd like to, if we could put it together that by next month, we're ready for the public hearing, we could schedule it, but we have to do that now.
Yeah, you'd have to do it now. You can schedule the public hearing. Legally, can they schedule it and then say that,
You can, if it's not ready, you just,
You table it.
just adjourn it. You just,
so you could
Yeah.
schedule it, right, and not open it at the meeting if you want to try it that way.
okay,
Is that okay with you?
that would be okay. Yes,
As long as they have
we'll do
the,
our best to.
Yeah.
yeah.
I would hope
What's
that
the
we'd
date?
have our answers within the third week.
14.
For
So
August
we knew
14th,
what we were doing a week before
but
the
you have to
public hearing.
get
Yes,
all
I
this
think we
worked
gotta
out.
set
Now,
some
Joe, I
internal
know is on
deadline. They can't
vacation,
come up the night before
so
with the-
you'll have to
Yeah,
talk to
absolutely.
Alvaro
Absolutely.
and
I
Jen
want all
Martinez
the
in his
answers by
office
that Saturday.
Okay,
to
sounds
get
good.
this all
The
worked out in the
27th.
next 2 weeks,
Go ahead and
to
schedule. the
get
public hearing.
material to
Yes,
the
that's
board
fine.
We're gonna
in
get all the
advance of
answers.
that
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah. I don't, there's no reason to
That's in the meeting?
drag this.
Not the site.
drag this out.
We're gonna
Well,
do.
you're gonna have it before the, if you have it in 2 weeks, it's gonna be before the site walk.
Okay. Is it possible, I mean, one of the, is it possible to move, I guess, we can't put the curtain trees in now, because we gotta get wetlands first. Right.
Yeah.
You can, but it would be illegal.
Very.
That would
That would be frowned upon.
that's- okay, so,
We're going to schedule a public hearing for our next meeting, subject to Joe and having most of the answers for us when we meet on the 27th. So you and Joe get together and figure out all that needs to be done so that we know on the 27th what we're going to be voting for on our meeting in the public hearing.
fine.
Okay, and if we're not ready for it, then we'll just table the public hearing. Or-
Am I understanding that you're trying to get this thing built before the winter? Is that what you're aiming for?
That's what we're hoping for, yes.
August is a good time to dig holes in.
Yeah, so, you know,
No,
if we, how long do you think this construction's gonna take?
It could take up to 6 months. I think the big construction question is getting the ground areas set so that the rest of it can be done, but the plans would call for making the walls thicker, replacing all the windows, so it's a pretty major,
So you're gonna be working in the wintertime?
Well, you want it watertight for the winter.
But you want to do the groundwork before winter?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have no problem, I don't think you have a problem with that, but,
And the framing and the new roofs.
yeah.
You can always work on the inside during the winter, but working on the outside in the winter is not pleasant.
A little cold.
I ice roof.
Okay, so scheduled for the 27th, or a site walk on the 27th, scheduled public hearing for the following.
August meeting.
Okay,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda is an update on the new school. Surratt,
Right, officially, it's not on the agenda, but it's an added item.
a discussion.
A discussion. You all received the submission packages from what is now being called the new private school in Somers, until there is some other name for it. But that is now the new official name.
It's not a STEM school anymore?
It
used to be-
is still a STEAM school,
STEAM?
but
It's not Somers
it
Academy.
had been referred to for a while as something other, called the Somers Academy. They did not want that name to really get widely known, because that's not what its name will be. So they've now made it even more generic.
Generic.
So, basically, you have those items. I had sent out, I don't know if I copied the planning board, I think I did, on a schedule, which is now further revised. You will get a further revised one. We had a meeting last Friday with the applicant's engineer and SECRA consultants, and we identified from our January 10th memorandum, identifying those things that we wanted addressed within those documents, whether or not they had been addressed and/or adequately addressed. And there were a number of items that still needed further elaboration or inclusion, so they are modifying those documents further. But what we are going to do is have a joint meeting, which you will get an invitation to. If you recall, early in the process, there was a joint meeting held between all of the interested boards, so that meeting will be set for August 8th. So what we're encouraging you, as well as the other boards, to do is go through the material you have now. There will be some modifications, but to be prepared for the August 8th meeting, where you can give your comments, questions, etc., based on the material that has already been made available.
Sorry.
Okay. August 8th meeting here.
Yeah, it'll be here.
I have only one question.
It's actually part of a town board meeting,
Okay,
and, but they wanted to have it on that date.
that's their work session, is it not?
No,
I think what they're doing is changing the
Okay.
meetings. They'll make that decision tomorrow night, but for other reasons that they need some approvals for, I think they're gonna make the 8th the work session, and then make, instead of the 1st and the 8th, they'll make the 8th and a week
15th.
later, the
8th and
regular
the
meeting, because
15th.
they need some timeframes for SECRA for other items.
Do you,
Okay.
do you, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but the schedule, the schedule that you've given us, which you're gonna update, seems a little aggressive. This is a huge project, and it's gonna be analyzed by 5 boards or whatever it is. Do you think that's realistic in doing this?
Schedules are always subject to change. That's my first comment. And second is, the first goal is for the town board to make a secret determination and a zoning determination. And their hope is to be able to do that by the end of the year. You will still be likely looking at the subdivision and site plan application, which will follow. So that is not likely to happen till the end of the year, but the town board is hoping to be able to complete their work by the end of the year.
We,
During which time, part of this whole process is that the applicant is waiting for, and was waiting for, staff and consultant input on their first submission to know whether or not they were ready to finalize their site plan and subdivision. So they got our comments, they'll get comments August 8th, and then they'll be making that site plan and subdivision application. And as in other, most recent would have been the Somers Crossing, where there were zone changes, site plans, subdivision applications. They started simultaneously, but one preceded the other while the planning board was still doing its work on site plan subdivision, and then that actually followed the change in zone and the secret. So this will be somewhat similar to that.
and since this is somewhat, as far as Nancy told us, this is somewhat of a sensitive area with regard to being between Route 100 and the reservoir. We're going to be covering all the sewer and all that is going to be under our domain?
No.
Or who?
That's part of SECRA. That is part of the town board's role as lead agency. But that is why that you are having this joint meeting.
Joint meetings.
Look at this so that you can provide your input, your questions, your concerns. Go ahead.
You, like other boards of the town, will be an involved agency because you have approval authority on aspects of it. And so you are part of the SECRA process. The determination based on whatever recommendations you make or concerns that you have is ultimately made by the town board. But I think the fundamental answer to your question is you'd be reviewing those impacts as part of the SECRA process, and then you'd be reviewing them in detail as part of, as Surratt said, once SECRA determination has been made, the actual applications that have to be approved before all the various boards will come before you again, and you'll get that detailed look at plans, et cetera,
Okay.
as part of that.
That's what I was
process.
concerned about.
I observed, and I was kind of impressed, the August 8th meeting, the joint meeting, I was surprised to see that, I mean, I'm accustomed to these joint meetings, the town board, the planning board, architectural review board, the open space committee, and also the Westchester County Planning Board?
Yeah, they were invited to the last ones. They didn't
They didn't
choose
show
to
up.
come,
Oh,
but
okay.
they'll be invited as well.
Oh, okay, they're invited, okay.
They're invited.
I have only one question. Other than the name change, are you aware of any other changes to the business plan? Are they still going to be for-profit? Are they still phasing in the student population?
Yes, and that is all in the material that has been distributed to you. So, the general program that you heard in the earlier meetings
Hasn't changed.
hasn't changed.
It's just what has happened.
Except
is-
probably the starting date, since their original was they were going to open this up in September of 2020. I find that to be,
Well,
Yeah,
obviously
A bit
now,
optimistic.
it's going to be, set back a little bit
Yeah,
because
set
their
back a
approvals
year.
are set back.
It's set
Yeah.
back a year.
yeah, okay.
And the other thing that I should mention when you look at all of this, I think before, they were slated to have 15% local and 85% resident, and now it's 20% day and 80% resident students. That's the only major, and it's not that major, but it is a change from,
It's their guesstimate of.
it's a guesstimate of,
Of what they're
their
going to attract.
marketability.
Yeah, yeah, well, the residence portion of it, though, has an impact on town and town services, I would think, and traffic and everything else.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, I guess next item is, our next meeting is scheduled for August 14th. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Good night.
Good night.